Lamellar macular hole was first described by Gass in 1975 as a partial thickness defect caused by a cystoid macular edema. But it was later realized that it's an aborted process of a full thickness hole formation. And clinically, it appears as a reddish, round or irregular, well circumscribed macular lesion. And OCT helps in the diagnosis. And the differential diagnosis, one has to keep in mind a full thickness macular hole, foveal pseudocyst, and a pseudo hole. So there's a criteria laid down for lamellar macular hole by Witkins, which is opening in the inner layers of the fovea. Opening in the inner layers of the fovea, the central foveal irregular contour and thinning, intraretinal splitting that usually happens in the outer plexiform and inner nuclear layers, and an intact foveal photoreceptor. And pseudo hole, you have a verticalization of the foveal slope and an increase in the central foveal thickness as compared to the lamellar macular hole. And coming to the pathogenesis, you have the anteroposterior traction and the tangential traction. The anteroposterior traction is the causative factor for the full thickness macular hole, and if it's an abortive process, you have the lamellar hole. If it is the tangential traction, if it is a centripetal type of a contraction, it forms the pseudo hole. And if it is a centrifugal as shown over here, it ends up in a lamellar macular hole. And the third pathogenesis is a degeneration theory, which is a complication of a cystoid macular hole. So when you get a case, usually the visual acuity is very good in such patients. The only complaint that they might have is a metamorphopsia. It's not an aggressive disease, and some recent studies have shown good prognosis for surgery. Deterioration of vision in lamellar macular hole occurs over time if there is a decrease in the foveal thickness or if there is a defect that happens in the ISOS junction. And this happens because there is direct exposure of the outer layers to ultraviolet light. There was a study by Theodosiadis who studied about the natural history of the lamellar macular holes. And he had studied 41 eyes, and they found out over a 3-year period that there is an increase in the lamellar macular hole diameter by 13.7%. The mean foveal thickness reduces by 10.3%, and the visual acuity decreases by 6.4% over a 3-year period. And out of the 41 patients, 31 patients had metamorphopsia, and almost all 39 patients had metamorphopsia at the final examination at the end of 37 months. This was another study which directly compared a control group along with the surgery group. And they had 40 eyes of 40 patients, 19 in the study group which underwent surgery, which was ERM peeling, ILM peeling and gas injection, and 21 eyes in the control groups for 6 months follow-up. And what they noticed was in the study group, there was an improvement of vision following the surgery from 0.54 to 0.33. And in the control group, it worsened from 0.51 to 0.55. And the hole diameter increased from the baseline to the final examination. And the vision decreased and the mean foveal thickness decreased in the control group. And coming to the surgery again, like what I said, it's ERM peeling, ILM peeling and a gas tamponade. Mike Liska reported 24 of the 26 eyes that he operated improvement in vision. Kasparis and Bowie showed 40 of the eyes of 41 reporting a visual improvement. And Witkins study showed only an improvement of 5 eyes out of 16, but an anatomical improvement in 7 cases. But however, 2 patients of his group developed a full thickness macular hole. Coming to the macular structure, this was a retrospective study to report the pre and post OCT findings following a lamellar macular hole. With a 6 months follow-up, again the surgery was ERM peeling and ILM peeling with gas injection. The follow-up was for about 16.7 months. His patients, all these patients in the post-operative period, the first 4 patients showed a closure of the lamellar macular hole with improvement in vision. This is the pre-op and this is the post-op. The next group of patients, he had in the intervening period of the healing process, he had a pseudocyst formation, but these pseudocysts eventually closed on further follow-up. But 2 patients persisted with the pseudocysts in the follow-up period. And the 11 and 12 patients developed a full thickness macular hole, for which cases he had re-injected a longer tamponadine gas injection and the holes eventually closed. So the mean gain for him was 2 Snellen lines, and 9 out of 12 patients gained 2 lines and 3 out of 12 patients remained stable. There was complete closure achieved in all 9 patients, and the mechanism of hole formation was a centrifugal traction, as I told earlier. This was a study by Barbara, which she described 2 types of ERM, which carries a prognosis in the surgical outcome. So she had described 2 types of ERM. One is called the tractional, one is called the tractional ERM, and the other one is the dense ERM. In the tractional ERM, you have the ERM that on top or as a hyperreflective line. The intraretinal split happens in the inner nuclear and outer plexiform layers with an intact ISOS line. Whereas in the dense ERM, you have the extension of the defect going into the outer nuclear layer with a defect or a split in the ISOS. And there is a hyporeflective material filling the space between the RNFL layer and the ERM membrane. So they studied 19 eyes of 19 patients, and the indication was, for surgery was progressive decrease in visual acuity, significant impairment of the quality of life, metamorphopsia, or increase in the lamellar macular hole diameter. And what they looked into OCT was the type of ERM, whether it's a tractional ERM or a dense ERM, integrity of the ISOS junction, outer nuclear layer, as well as the external limiting membrane. And this is the A is the dense ERM, which is a yellow dense ERM with a fluffy consistency, intraoperatively finding. And the tractional ERM showed a transparent, consistent, and easier separated as a sheet. And this is the outcome. The tractional ERM, this is a preoperative picture, and postoperatively at 6 months shows a closure of the lamellar macular hole with an intact ISOS and an ELM. Whereas in the dense ERM, which extends into the outer nuclear layer, the defect of the ISOS and the outer photoreceptor layer, the defect persisted at the 6 months follow-up. This is a case report what we have done, where this is the preoperative picture and this is the postoperative picture at 1 month with absorption of the gas and hole closure and acuity improving to 6/9. So when you are doing a surgery when you do only an external remitting ERM peeling, there's a chance of deroofing of the lamellar macular hole. So always, the risk of deroofing was there. So then the ILM peeling was initiated. And once an ILM peeling is also done along with the ERM, the risk of deroofing doesn't happen. So take home message, while looking through the OCT, always make sure you go through all the OCT slices rather than by a single slice. Patients with metamorphopsia are better candidates to operate upon. Tractional ERMs have a better outcome as compared to the dense ERMs. Always look for an intact ELM and ISOS layer. And during the operation, always do an ILM peeling to improve the hole closure and to avoid any secondary contraction of the internal macula that could allow the holes to reopen. Internal tamponade to avoid any chance of the hole to remain open, and positioning for about 3 to 5 days to prevent hole reopening and to flatten out any intraretinal dissociations. Thank you.